In the early hours of 10th May 2000, fire got Terminal 1 of the domestic wing of the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos during a fire. The terminal, which was built 25 years prior, housed many businesses, including airlines, was razed to rubble. Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria lost screening machines, and the Nigerian Airways lost its VIP lounge built in 1999, amongst other things. The then Minister of Aviation, Olusegun Agagu, and Governor of Lagos State, Bola Tinubu, visited the site to assess the damage. In that same year, a bid was opened by the Federal Ministry of Aviation through the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria for eligible companies to send in tenders for the construction of a new domestic terminal of the Murtala Mohammed Airport. Among the companies that submitted bids were Sanderton Ventures Limited, SVL, and Bykotny Aviation Services Limited, BASL. SVL eventually won the bid, while BASL, the reserve bidder. SVL couldn't not meet up with the terms. Thus, the federal government of Nigeria and BASL on the 24th of April 2003 executed a concession agreement for the redevelopment of the airport terminal on design, build, operate, and transfer basis. The new terminal tagged MM2 was commissioned on the 7th of April 2007 by the then President of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. It became operational on the 7th of May 2007. In a bid to get every domestic airline to operate from MM2, Virgin Nigeria was forced to move from Murtala Mohammed International Airport to MM2 in a letter signed by the then Managing Director of FAAN, Richard Aiswebiogun, PhD, on the 11th of August 2008 with an ultimatum of 7 days. This was against the Memorandum of Understanding between Virgin Nigeria and the Federal Government of Nigeria signed on 28 September 2004 to establish Virgin Nigeria as the nation's new flag carrier. The agreement allowed Virgin Nigeria to use the international terminals at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos and Nnamdi Azikiwe airports in Abuja. It granted the airline exclusive operating rights to establish a regional hub at the international wing of the Lagos airport. Virgin Nigeria eventually moved its operations to MM2. Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Atlantic, seeing that the federal government of Nigeria has reneged on this agreement, withdrew its shareholding of 49% from Virgin Nigeria. The airline went into murky waters and its eventual demise in 2012 after Jimoh Ibrahim bought it over and renamed it Air Nigeria. There was contention between Bykotny Aviation Services Limited and Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria over the tenure of the concession agreement. BASL maintains that an addendum signed on February 2, 2007 legally extended the concession period to 36 years. They argued that this extension was necessary to recoup the colossal funds spent on rebuilding the terminal and to cover vast revenue losses caused by FAAN's repeated breaches of the agreement. FAAN, and by extension, the federal government, argued that the original binding concession agreement was for only 12 years. They claimed the 36 years extension was invalid because it was never approved by the Federal Executive Council, FEC, or the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, which is required by the Nigerian law. Almost from inception, the relationship between BASL and FAAN was mired in disputes over contract terms, revenue remittances, and operational rights. In July 2011, the Abuja Court of Appeal dismissed an application by FAAN challenging the 2009 judgment in favor of BASL over concession agreement at the MM2 terminal in Lagos. After citing 59 submissions in 41 cases, Justice Jimmy Olukayode Bada held that FAAN application lacked merit. Now, the good news. The Federal Executive Council recently approved the terms of a comprehensive settlement agreement between federal government and Bykotny Aviation Services Limited. This includes Bykotny's writing off of 132 billion naira judgment debt with interest from 2009, among other concessions. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo San, disclosed the details of the settlement after a FEC meeting held recently at the State House. He said, and I quote, "The agreement involved significant concession on both sides and will finally unlock the full commercial potential of the private terminal that has operated under a cloud of litigation since its inception. Hence, a 2-decade legal and commercial standoff over the operations of the Murtala Mohammed Airport Terminal 2 in Lagos, one of the most protracted and consequential disputes in Nigeria's aviation history." End of quote. The terms of the agreement from the settlement are as follows. The Supreme Court verdict that the federal government should hand over the local airports to BASL and the federal government should pay BASL 132 billion naira plus interest from 2009 waived off. The exclusivity clause barring any other private operator from building an airport within a defined radius of Lagos, a provision that had for years blocked the development of the Lekki Airport being promoted by the Lagos State government. Exclusivity clause removed. BASL agreed to hand over MM1 General Aviation Terminal back to the federal government entirely. In return, the federal government made 3 concessions of its own. It returned the uncompleted 5-star hotel conference center opposite MM2, whose concession had been revoked by previous administration, to BASL with a 24-month deadline for completion and an agreement that the federal government retains a shared stake in its operations. Federal government agreed to relocate domestic and regional flights to MM2 to boost traffic and revenue for the concessionaire. As part of the agreement, federal government will now begin earning its share of revenue from MM2's operations immediately, ending the previous arrangement in which the concessionaire had not been paying the government its due under the concession for years. At the end of the day, it was a very good deal for everybody. Give and take. He profited, we profited, Keyamo said. Ladies and gentlemen, now we await the official signing ceremony.